This is probably going to be a lot more unexpected, knowing full well that some people are just not into my regular show reviews, aside from the Cartoon Crisis 2 review that centers around the burger. Well, Mordecai would be all forbidden to eat until they do their chores. This episode review was originally going to be tackling all the terror tales of the park, mainly from the first one from 2011 to the sixth one from 2016. And to tell you the truth, it was me at the time where I really wanted Halloween to be really special, but at the same time, you don't need to do a lot more, so that's why I'm only doing the first Terror Tales of the Park, and for the later ones, possibly the following years, and wrap them up until I'm 30. Maybe. When I first heard or witnessed these regular show episodes when it comes to Halloween, I'm honestly surprised that I didn't tackle the first one earlier, knowing full well that there were 6 episodes centering around the Halloween seasons involving the characters telling terror tales about their experiences during Halloween or something that is terror related. With the first bit of this, mainly in the house, which is a Halloween episode, while the rest of the mini episodes, or whatever you call them, center around something else that doesn't involve the Halloween season. The people behind regular show probably loved Halloween to the point that they made multiple episodes centering around the terror tales. Creepy Doll, Death Metal, Crash Pit, and In the House are the episodes, while Creepy Doll and Death Metal Crash Pit are mostly the mini episodes, while In the House is the 11th minute episode of Terror Tales of the Park. And to tell you the truth, these 3 are mostly unique in their own way, and considering that they saved the best for last, which is In the House, they really wanted this first Terror Tales to be as memorable when it comes to the characters and their situations. Let's get into Creepy Doll. Pops found a doll called Percy who wants to draw something on his face, and since that he's too old for dolls, Mordecai and Rigby threw the doll away. Shockingly, the doll is alive, which haunts Mordecai, Rigby, and Pops. To tell you the truth, this episode is typical for a doll episode to come to life, and even if I do not watch movies centering around living dolls, not including Toy Story, I really felt like that this is the type of material that you'll mostly expect if you're familiar with movies centering around dolls coming to life during the Halloween season, or something horror related at that. I've discussed Pop's character in the last regular show episode that I talked about 2 months ago, so what I describe about his character is that since that this is all taking place in his story on Terror Tales, you can really tell that he really isn't the best at storytelling, but when it comes to his perspective on what he feels towards Percy, despite being too old, he's the type of character that would usually do something like that, even if it may be really off-putting for the other characters. With the plot centering around the doll itself, well, Pops decides to fight off, considering that he's the only one who can stop it, mainly that this is his story. He puts the doll into the furnace, burning him, and to tell you the truth, for how this episode ends when it comes to Pops just wrapping up the story while the other characters just don't believe him and it's not really much of a scary story, it really shows that every single character is different to the point that you can tell that even just by watching this episode as your first regular show episode, you can easily catch on the characters' personalities. To tell you the truth, even if I don't watch this show that much in comparison to other Cartoon Network shows, it really shows that they really did a lot in order to make this first Halloween episode memorable. Let's get into the next story, Death Metal Crash Pit. Muscle Man and High Five Girls found a broken RV that they can use for the crash pit after the many times they used the crash pit for other cars. But when they start up the RV, the ghosts of Skull Punch, which is a heavy metal band, appeal to give Muscle Man and High Five Ghost a front row seat of the crash pit, mainly driving the RV into the crash pit with Muscle Man and High Five Ghost. Muscle Man manages to convince Skull Punch to perform in front of a crowd since that they call the band lame. And while that's happening, he tries to get out of the RV, but he has no other choice. So he starts the RV to have the RV go into the crash pit, which he manages to succeed by getting rid of the band. Unfortunately, he died while he turned into a ghost, like High Five Ghost, which he's still okay with, judging of how he enjoys High Five Ghost. To be perfectly real with you, this is better than the last story, knowing full well that it's actually humorous to see Muscle Man just doing his stick as usual, and just by trying to figure out a solution in order to get out that he got himself into, it's really typical for Muscle Man to do, knowing full well that this is in one of the earlier seasons of regular show. Skull Punch, I'm really into British accents, knowing full well that the accents in these characters really work for the character, even if they only appear briefly. It's honestly a good experience to see these characters just trying to give Muscle Man a taste of his own medicine, since that they're driving their RV into the crash pit, and they're willing to do the same against him in order to have him get killed. And considering that Muscle Man tried to escape and he had no other option other than getting himself killed in order to turn to a ghost by eliminating Skull Punch, believe me, I don't even think that there was any other way for Skull Punch to do anything else other than what they did in this story. Then again, when it came to the outcome of Muscle Man turning into a ghost, they really wanted to have that. But since that they didn't want it to happen in the main show when it comes to the main plot and the arcs of the show, they saved it for the Halloween episode. Either that, they probably thought about that before they began production on regular show. But that's just me though. Now let's get into the final story in the house. During Halloween night, Rigby threw eggs at a house, while the wizard, who is the antagonist in this story, comes to haunt Rigby for throwing the eggs. And this wizard instantly messes Rigby to the point that, with the title of this episode, Rigby turns into a house. And I do mean that literally. If I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I know that this is supposed to be traumatizing, especially the people who watched this episode 12 years ago, but I'm sorry, this is just too humorous for me to honestly take the whole situation seriously. Like, I can understand that this is supposed to be a way for the witch to get back for the wizard to get back at Rigby for throwing the eggs at his house, but at the same time, this really feels like the most fantasized way to get back at someone, considering the regular show is well known on having the world building go into chaos whenever something happens. And when it came to the conflict later on in the episode, the wizard just ripped off the Muscle Man's skin. He incinerates Skips with flames. He flushes Benson down the toilet, and sends Pops into a dresser that disappears. Malachi tries to face off the wizard, but it wasn't enough, which leads to a face-to-face conflict between Rigby and the wizard. After he apologized to the wizard threw the eggs at him, which is why he turned into a house so that he can get back at him for throwing eggs at his house. To tell you the truth, it may be the weirdest way to wrap up an episode like this, or in Rigby's case, his story of Halloween, but to tell you the truth, it's honestly bizarre in a good way, knowing full well that that's the type of comedy that you're mostly familiar with from regular show. Besides, the big egg that cracked open is honestly humorous on how it wraps up, and the fact that Rigby turns into the wizard as the episode ends with Happy Halloween is honestly a good way to wrap it up. And that's literally the only thing that I remembered after watching previews of it when I watched Adventure Time back in 2011. mainly the commercials. To tell you the truth, for a first episode centering around the tales of the park, this is also a good opener. Granted, my original plan was definitely reviewing all the episodes, but to tell you the truth, I don't want to go through that. And after thinking about it, I'd rather just review these episodes one at a time during the Octobers for the next 5 years, depending if I'm gonna be reviewing the next Tales next year. So after watching this entire episode, I enjoyed it. Like, the least that I enjoyed was the creepy doll, while second place goes to the death metal crash pit, and one is definitely in the house. To tell you the truth, I really grow appreciation towards regular show, even if I do not watch this show that much. And when it comes to the following years of Halloween in October, I'm actually looking forward to watching the other Tales when I get the chance. It may be a really slow progress that I could have done way earlier, but at the same time, better late than never. Besides, considering that Jim Reviews did a ranking of all the Halloween episodes, he did it much more better if I ever had the knowledge of doing effort into reviewing all the episodes in one video. I know I was planning on doing more anthology videos, mainly the fact that I need more Patreons in order to do those types of videos again, but at the same time, the only way for that to happen is if a Patreon requested me to do all the Halloween episode reviews from regular show, but it's literally what happens in the future that may come to light in some of the capacity when it comes to my Patreons. With that being said, there's a chance that I may review more episodes way earlier centering around the Tales, but at the same time, I'm not sure, especially since that next year October won't be the same schedule as this year's October. I'm giving this episode a 7.5 out of 10.